Hi there, welcome to the addition and subtraction strategies, and this is virtual session number 7. We will be using an open number line for subtraction, counting back. So just as last time, if you would like the practice sheet, and if you printed it last time, you already have it. The subtraction pages are behind the addition. And today we're really going to focus on that left-hand column of subtraction where it says counting back to subtract. So our focus today is going to be counting back on an open number line, as well as just reminding you that this is a tool for solving, or it's a way to show that mental thinking that kids will often say, well, I just thought it in my head. Oftentimes the number line can help them show their thinking. And once again, connections to core, very much like the last session, based on properties, place value, and those inverse relationships, as well as mathematical practice number 2. You will see that the open number line, students will be using the commutative property, switching the order, as well as the associative property, and our connections to the standards. Open number lines are a tool to use when we add and subtract, and you'll see that it relates to NBT 4, 5, and 6, in which students are adding and subtracting within 100, and also adding 10 more or 10 less is really a critical piece that you'll see here. Second grade, same thing. When we talk about using strategies based on place value properties in the relationship, and when they're mentally adding 10 or 100, these are connections to the standards in which a number line can be used. Third grade, a number line could be a tool that they use when solving. Now keep in mind, I'm never saying this is the perfect strategy for any numbers we're given. We have that conversation with kids of, did this work well for you? Was it efficient? What might you do differently next time? Okay, so please, as you watch this, keep that in mind. This is not the strategy we're using for all numbers, okay? Fourth grade, as they're solving, this could be a quick tool they pull out for certain numbers. All right, so when we start with an open number line, the first thing we want to point out to kids is that when we're looking at that whole amount in subtraction, or the 60, we're going to place that number on the right-hand side of our number line. As we're going to be counting back to subtract, we want to make sure we have room to move to the left, okay? So if we have 60 minus 10, we would represent that on the number line as 60 minus 10 equals 50. Okay, where do we see the whole amount? Well, 60 is the furthest number on the right. And then where do you see the parts? Well, we have 10 here, and we have 50 at the left of our number line. These are our parts. Okay, so that's a very simplistic example, but that is a good place to start. Another thing we can do is even have kids think about 70, and we can just keep subtracting 10. Just getting, what would 60 minus 10 be? Because they've been working on that in our standards, really adding and subtracting 10, we can show them that they could represent it using an open number line. Okay, so you could see that we've had 70 minus 30, and that would equal 40. And we could continue on, subtracting 10. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at 80 minus 20. 80 minus 20. Now we can do a step of 20. How students decide to chunk and do their subtracting, decompose, is up to them. What are they comfortable with doing mentally? So 80 minus 20 is 60. Some kiddos might think of this and subtract in groups of 10 because they're good at multiples of 10. Okay? So here you can see 80 minus 10 is 70, and 70 minus 10 equals 60. Did we start with 80? Yes. Did we subtract 20? Yes, we did. Okay, so you want to make sure as students are working through this, we say, you know, how do you know that you subtracted 20? Okay, and then they'll explain that to you. So 80 minus 20 is 60. All right, so moving along, and you can see I'm kind of skipping over some problems on your practice sheets, but you can go back and do the others if you like. All right, so here's 90 minus 70. Notice we're starting with multiples of 10, okay? And now I would like to think of this as, I can think of this as 90 minus 70 because I know 7 tens and 2 tens, or 7 and 2 is 9, so 90 minus 70 is 20. However, you might have some kids that think about this as perhaps minus 50. So have they subtracted 70 yet? No. 40 minus 20 is 20. 90 minus 70 equals 20. Okay? So you can see so far that this might be either a tool they use to solve the problem, or it might be a way for them to show how they mentally subtracted in parts with mental strategies, okay? All right, so let's take a look at the problem 60 minus 19. Now, you could decompose 19 any way you want. Some kids might think of it as 60 minus 10, very much a place value strategy, is 50. And then they might subtract 9. 50 minus 9, 9 and 1 is 10, so 41 and 9 is 50. All right, so did we subtract 19? Where do you see that we subtracted 19? And where do you see the answer? Okay, so you want to have that conversation. Where do you see the parts and the whole? Now, another way to look at this is, quite honestly, when I see this problem, I think of it as 60 minus 20 is 40, but then I need to give 1 back because I subtracted too many. I subtracted 1 too many. So therefore, 60 minus 19 is actually 41. Where do you see that I've subtracted 19? Well, you subtracted 20, but then you added 1 back, which is just like subtracting 19. Now, keep in mind, this is not something that kids are going to be trained to do and procedures to follow. But when kids use this compensation strategy with an open number line in this case, you can see they really have a sense of quantity. Really very much about that mathematical practice number 2 of being able to decompose and recompose numbers fluidly because they think about their quantity. Okay? But what a great, easy way to visually show that mental thinking that some kids do. Okay? Really powerful. All right, let's go ahead and let's take a look at another one. All right, so you can see that as we move on to larger numbers, once again, it can just be a way for students to show that they can mentally do this subtraction. Some kids might do it by hundreds. 400 minus 100 is 300, and then minus another 100, okay? As we look at larger numbers, the same idea applies. They're getting to those landmark numbers, those friendly tens. Okay, so I can think about this as 500 minus 80. Once again, really knowing their combinations of 100 in this case. And then I need to subtract 9. Okay. Once again, students might subtract less than 80, maybe in 50 if they're comfortable subtracting 50 from 500. But the idea is, what I want to point out with this one is you're probably thinking, I don't know that many of my kids would use this strategy. That's my point exactly. If you're looking at that thinking, this would not be, the open number line wouldn't be an efficient strategy for these numbers, you might be right. Okay, what I'm not saying is this is not the best tool and the best strategy for every set of numbers. So please keep that in mind. Now, what I might do, and I'm going to get a new slide here, is I might think about this a little bit easier and show my thinking on a number line. But once again, this isn't about telling kids how to break these numbers apart. It's for them to do what makes sense to them, and then having some conversations of why they did it and why that was efficient. Okay? I would think about this as 500 minus 90. I know that 10 and 90 is 100, so 410, and 90 would be 500. But guess what? I wasn't subtracting 90, I was subtracting 89. So I need to give one back because I subtracted one too many. And once again, ask your students why. Why did we add one back? Or if this is a strategy that a student shares with you, have them explain, and then have a student restate the other child's thinking. Okay? Really powerful. All right, so if you would like to look at some additional number line resources, you can go to this website, tinyurl.com/BPS strategies, and there you'll find all the virtual sessions and the related resources. And next time we'll be heading into session 8, subtraction, in which we're adding up and finding that missing part with an open number line. Really powerful. And I think, to me, when kids start to learn how they can add up to subtract on that number line and what a great tool that can be to show the missing part, this is where they really find the value, I feel, in that number line strategy for a lot of our kids. So thanks, and we'll see you next time.